I found my old Pittsburgh library card in the back drawer of my late wife's desk, and the first thing that bothered me was not that she had kept it. It was a circulation slip clipped behind it. 5 books had been checked out under my name in the fall of 2007. I recognized none of them. One was about caregiver exhaustion. Another was about families arguing over aging parents. A third was called When Help Feels Like Betrayal. The last book had been returned on October 18th. That was the day my mother moved out of my house. My name is Benjamin Cole. I was 68 when I found the card. For years retired from maintaining elevators in office buildings and hospitals around western Pennsylvania. I remembered that October clearly. My mother, Rose, had lived with my wife, Ellen, and me for nearly 2 years after a bad fall made her apartment impractical. My sister, Joan, believed Mom needed assisted living. I believed family took care of family. On October 18th, while I was at work, Joan arrived with a rented van. By dinner, Mom was gone. For 17 years, I remember that day as the moment my sister took our mother away and my wife stood aside and let her. The library slip suggested Ellen had been preparing for it. I turned the card over. There was a small crescent cut from the upper right corner, made years earlier when I tried trimming a cracked edge with my pocket knife. It was unquestionably my card. Near the barcode was a tiny handwritten letter, or in faded red ink. I assumed it was some old library notation. The books had all been borrowed over 6 weeks. Caregiving without losing yourself. Difficult conversations with aging parents. When help feels like betrayal. Living well in assisted communities. And one title that did not fit the others. Listening to someone who has already decided. I sat at Ellen's desk for a long time. She had been dead 5 years. Mom and Joan were gone too. Whatever those books meant, 3 of the people who knew were no longer available to explain. Then I remembered someone who might. The librarian who worked our neighborhood branch in 2007 was still there every Tuesday. Her name was Marcia Levin, and she remembered Ellen before she remembered me. Your wife liked the back table by the windows, she said. I showed her the card. Marcia adjusted her glasses. Oh, not surprise. Recognition. You used this? No. Ellen did. She said it matter-of-factly. I asked whether that had been allowed. Spouses used each other's cards constantly back then. We weren't guarding nuclear secrets. That sounded like Marcia. I pointed to the red R. What's this? Her face changed slightly. I didn't put that there. Do you know who did? I have an idea. She would not explain yet. Instead, she asked what I remembered about my mother living with us. I told her. Rose was 78 when she moved into our spare room. She had arthritis and poor balance, but a mind sharper than mine on most days. At first, living together went well. Then I began rearranging my life around her. I stopped taking overnight service calls. Ellen and I quit going to our Thursday bowling league because I did not like leaving Mom alone. I installed rails in the hallway, a raised toilet seat, extra lights, and a bell beside her bed. I was proud of that bell. My mother hated it. She called the cowbell. Marcia said. I stared at her. How do you know that? She told me. Mom had been coming to the library with Ellen. I had no memory of that. They went while I worked. Rose read mysteries and biographies. Ellen sat nearby with coffee. Then, in August of 2007, Mom began asking Marcia for books about assisted living. Why didn't anybody tell me? Marcia gave me a level look. Maybe because you had already answered the question. I knew what she meant. Joan once suggested we tour a retirement community near Monroeville. I said, Mom stays with me until she decides otherwise. I remembered feeling generous when I said it. Marcia replied, Your mother heard something different. What? That if she decided otherwise, she would be hurting you. That afternoon, she gave me the name of the retirement community where Mom had moved. It was still operating. And one employee there had worked in admissions during 2007. The woman's name was Patricia Sloan. We met in the lobby of Hawthorne Gardens, the same building I had refused to enter for almost a year after Mom moved there. Patricia remembered Rose Cole immediately. Your mother played cards for quarters and accused everyone else of cheating. That sounds right. She liked it here. I had always told myself she adjusted eventually. Patricia's wording was different. She had chosen it. That distinction irritated me. Joan chose it. Patricia shook her head. Your mother toured twice before she moved. I felt something tighten in my chest. With my sister? The first time with Joan. The second with your wife. Ellen had never told me. Patricia remembered because Mom asked unusually practical questions. Could she bring her own recliner? Could she have breakfast late? How often did the shuttle go to the library? Then Mom asked whether someone could move in without telling the family members she lived with until arrangements were final. What did you say? That we preferred families to communicate. And Rose said communication wasn't the problem. Permission was. I did not like hearing that. At home, I searched Ellen's old calendar. September of 2007 contained several entries I had never noticed. HG with Rose. Library. Joan at 4. Then one entry on October 17th. Ben late shift. Pack after dinner. I sat with that for a while. The move had not been sudden. It had been planned around me. That hurt more than I expected. When Ellen was alive, I had blamed Joan. Ellen listened whenever I complained about my sister's interference. She never once said, I helped her. The library card now looked less like an innocent household object. It looked like evidence. I called my cousin Dale, one of the few relatives who had visited Mom while she lived with us. He remembered the tension. Your mother wanted out, he said. Everybody seems to know that now. She told me not to tell you. Why? Because you took care of her like a man trying to win something. I almost hung up. Instead, I asked what that meant. Dale said, you weren't just helping Rose, Ben. You were trying to prove what kind of son you were. Then he told me the first thing that made me question every book on the circulation slip. Ellen had not been the one who chose them. Mom had. Marcia confirmed it when I returned to the library. Rose selected the books. Ellen checked them out under my card. Why mine? Because your mother wanted you to read them. I laughed once. Well, that worked. Marcia did not smile. At first, Mom planned to bring the books home openly. The first was Caregiving Without Losing Yourself. She read half of it, put a sticky note on 3 chapters, and told Ellen she wanted me to see them. Then she changed her mind. Why? Because you had an argument. I remembered it. Mom had gotten up during the night, without using the bell, and fallen beside the bathroom door. She was not seriously hurt. I was furious. I told her she could have broken a hip. She said, I needed to pee, Ben, not file a flight plan. I raised my voice. Mom told me I was treating her like equipment that might fail inspection. That hit close because elevators were how I understood everything. Prevent the failure. Remove the risk. Do the maintenance before somebody gets hurt. I told her safety was not negotiable. According to Marcia, Mom came to the library the next afternoon. She said if she handed you a book about caregiver control, you'd think she was criticizing you. She would have been, yes. So she decided to move out behind my back. Not immediately. For several weeks, Rose and Ellen used the books differently. They read them together. They talked about guilt, independence, and what happens when help turns into obligation. Ellen took notes. Mom argued with the authors. One book went back almost untouched because Rose called it condescending nonsense. That sounded like her too. The circulation dates formed a progression. The books were not research for finding a facility. Mom had already found Hawthorne Gardens. They were research for figuring out how to tell me. That was the first truth I had completely wrong. Ellen and Joan had not secretly decided to remove my mother. Rose made the decision herself. My wife used my library card because the books were originally meant for me. But after the bathroom argument, Mom no longer believed I could read them without hearing accusation. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I felt excluded in a new way. If the decision belonged to Mom, why did Ellen spend years letting me hate Joan for it? I found part of that answer in a yellow legal pad tucked beneath Ellen's tax folders. She had written notes from the books, not summaries. Questions. What does Ben think caregiving proves? Why does Rose apologize every time she needs something? Can someone feel abandoned by a person who is still in the room? That last one bothered me. Beneath it, Ellen had written, "Ask him about Frank. Frank was my father. He died in 1994. For the last year of his life, he had lived in a nursing home outside Erie after a stroke. I visited every Sunday. I also spent 12 years feeling guilty that I had not brought him home. My father never asked to live with me. That detail had somehow become less important than the promise I made at his funeral. Nobody else in this family goes into a home because they become inconvenient. I said it to Ellen. Joan heard me. Apparently, Rose remembered it too. Suddenly, my insistence that Mom stay with us looked different. It was not only about her. I was still arguing with a decision made around my father 13 years earlier. The library books had been trying to reach that wound. I called Dale again. He said Mom understood before I did. She told me, Ben thinks he is taking care of me. Half the time he is taking care of Frank. That made me angry because it was true enough to hurt. Still, the last book on the slip did not fit. Listening to someone who has already decided, it was checked out after Mom had signed her Hawthorne agreement, and it was returned on October 18th, the day she moved. If the purpose was to teach Ellen how to tell me about the move, why return it that same day? Marcia checked an old paper archive the branch still kept because a local history volunteer had preserved circulation statistics. The book had not been returned at the desk. It came through the overnight slot before the library opened. Inside the old record was a handwritten note from Marcia, returned with card. Ours says, "Do not call." R, the same red letter on my library card. The notation did not mean a library category. It meant Rose. My mother herself had returned my card. That detail changed the timing. Until then, I pictured Ellen and Joan executing Mom's plan while I worked. But sometime before dawn on the day she moved, Rose had gone to the library. Patricia at Hawthorne helped me understand how. Mom had asked the facility shuttle driver to pick her up early at our house. Not to move her, just to take her to the library and breakfast. She returned home before I woke. That woman was determined, Patricia said. Why return my card? The answer was in another folder. Ellen had saved a note from Rose. Ben, I borrowed your card because I wanted the books to come from you, even if you did not know it. That sentence irritated me so much I nearly stopped reading. Then, I thought if Ellen found the right words, you would understand. That was unfair to her. There are no right words for asking a good son to stop helping. I read that line several times. Good son, not controlling son, not guilty son. Good. Rose wrote that she knew I loved her. She also knew love had become exhausting for both of us. She hated watching Ellen cancel plans. She hated seeing me check the hallway every time she stood up. Most of all, she hated feeling grateful for things she no longer wanted. At the bottom, she wrote, I am returning your card because I am done trying to make a book say this for me. There should have been another page. It was missing. I searched Ellen's desk. Nothing. Then I remembered the small recipe drawer in our old china cabinet. Ellen kept sentimental things in ordinary places. The second page was behind a stack of appliance warranties. Rose wrote that she would tell me herself after work. She intended to wait in the kitchen. No van arriving in secret. No empty bedroom. She planned to say goodbye face to face. But that was not what happened. I came home that day and found the room already cleared. Ellen told me Joan had taken Mom earlier because it was easier. For 17 years, I believe my sister chose the easy way. Rose's note proved she had planned the harder one. So why had Ellen changed it? That question took me to the last person still alive who had been in our house that afternoon. My son, Matthew. Matthew was 25 in 2007. He lived 10 minutes away, but rarely visited during the week. That October 18th, Ellen called him around noon. He remembered because he left work early. Grandma was packed, he told me, but she hadn't left yet. Did she tell you she was moving? Yes. How was she? Scared. That word surprised me. Rose had never looked scared to me. Matthew said she kept practicing what she would tell me. I need my own life. I love you, but I am going. You took good care of me, and that is not a reason I have to stay. Every version sounded too harsh to her. Then I called home from work. I remembered that call. I was dealing with a stalled elevator at Mercy Hospital and would be late. Ellen told me Mom was tired. I said, make sure she uses the bell tonight. I don't want another bathroom stunt. Stunt. I had used that word. Matthew heard it through the kitchen speakerphone. After the call, Rose stopped practicing. She said she couldn't do it. Matthew told me. Couldn't move? No, couldn't tell you. I felt my throat tighten. What happened? Grandma asked Joan to come early. Ellen objected. She said I deserved the conversation. Rose answered, Ben will hear that I'm leaving him. He won't hear that I'm leaving the house. So Joan arrived. They moved Mom before I came home. Why didn't you tell me? I almost did. What stopped you? Matthew was quiet. Mom. There was again. Ellen. I felt the old suspicion return. Maybe she believed she was protecting everyone, but she had still decided what I was allowed to know. Matthew said, Dad, you need to understand something. Mom didn't want Grandma to leave that way. Then why defend the lie for 17 years? She didn't. What do you call it? She defended Grandma. That distinction sounded convenient. Then Matthew told me something I had never known. Rose made Ellen promise that if I blamed anyone, she should let me blame Joan. Not because Rose disliked Joan, because Joan had agreed to carry it. And Joan agreed because she knew I would eventually forgive an interfering sister more easily than a mother who chose to leave my home. At first, that explanation made me angrier. My mother, my wife, my sister, and my son had all participated in deciding which version of the truth I could handle. Then Matthew handed me something Ellen had given him before she died. A photocopy from the last library book. One paragraph was underlined, not by Ellen, by Rose. It described the difference between rejection and separation. Beneath it, my mother had written, Ben thinks every departure is a verdict. That sentence connected the entire thing. My father's nursing home. Nathan leaving for college years earlier. Every technician who quit my crew. I took departures personally, even when they had nothing to do with me. Rose knew it. Ellen knew it. Joan knew it because she had spent our childhood leaving rooms whenever I became certain an argument needed to be finished. The second truth was not simply that they hid the move to protect me from pain. They hid the full story to protect Rose from my forgiveness. I did not understand that at first. Matthew explained. If I learned immediately that Mom had chosen to leave, Ellen believed I would march into Hawthorne Gardens, tell Rose I forgave her, and turn her decision into another emotional obligation. I would visit constantly, offer to bring her home, ask whether she was sure, make her reassure me. Ellen knew because I had done exactly that with other people. Mom wanted Grandma to have 1 month. Matthew said, 1 month of what? Of not managing your feelings. That hurt. It also sounded fair. The plan was to tell me after a month. Then Rose asked them not to. She was happier at Hawthorne. I was sleeping better. Ellen and I returned to bowling. Our marriage became easier in ways none of us wanted to admit. Rose feared that telling me would poison every improvement with guilt. So the month became a year. Then years. By the time Rose died, the false version had hardened. Ellen wanted to correct it. Joan refused because she was ashamed she had let me hate her for so long. Everybody had something to lose from honesty by then, and I had benefited from the silence more than I wanted to admit. The red R on my library card suddenly had another meaning. Rose had marked the card herself before returning it. Not ownership, responsibility. I went back to the neighborhood library on a Tuesday. Marcia was at the same desk. I brought the old card. She held it gently. You know about the R now? Yes. Rose had written it in red ink because she used a red felt tip pen for crossword puzzles. Marcia remembered asking why she marked my card. Mom said, so Ben knows this part was mine. That was the detail no one had explained. Rose expected me to learn the truth. She did not intend 17 years of secrecy. She believed one day I would find the card, see her mark, and understand that the decision belonged to her. Life stretched the delay farther than she imagined. I asked Marcia whether the library still had any of those books. Only one remained. Listening to someone who has already decided. The cover had changed, but the title was the same. I checked it out with my current card. That evening, Matthew came over for dinner. I showed him the book. He laughed. You reading it 20 years late? Seems to be my schedule. We talked about Rose. Then Ellen. Then Joan. I apologized to my sister out loud, even though there was nobody there to receive it. I wished Ellen had told me sooner. I wish Mom had trusted me enough to have the difficult conversation. I also understood why she lost her nerve. That does not make the secrecy right. It makes it recognizable. I was a man who spent 40 years maintaining elevators. When a door refused to close, I looked for the obstruction. When a car stopped between floors, I wanted a cause I could name and repair. People do not work that way. Sometimes several things are true at once. My mother loved living with us. She wanted to leave. My wife disliked deceiving me. She chose to continue. My sister let me blame her, partly from love, partly because after a while admitting the truth became harder than carrying my anger. And I was a good son who sometimes made being cared for feel like another job my mother had to perform. The old library card stays on my desk now. The plastic is yellowed. The corner is badly cut. My signature has faded. Beside the barcode is Rose's little red R. At first, I thought the card proved people had been planning my life behind my back. Now it reminds me of something less flattering and more useful. They were looking for words because the words they had tried on me before had not gotten through. I still wish they had kept trying. But these days, when Matthew tells me something I do not like, I make myself wait before answering. Sometimes I even listen long enough to hear whether he has already decided.